Hello, my name is Jennifer Bell. I'm a psychotherapist in the Annapolis, Maryland area. I do a lot of work with depression, with adult children of alcoholics, and with people who are struggling with alcoholism and drug addiction themselves. I'm also the author of the book Me Time: Finding the Balance Between Taking Care of Others and Taking Care of Yourself. Today I'm going to talk about ants. You know they have a reputation for messing with picnics. But did you know that they also can mess with your head? Okay, at this point I'm not really talking about this kind of ant, the insect. I'm talking about automatic negative thoughts, which can be abbreviated ants. There are 5 sorts of ants that I'm going to talk about today. The first one is mind reading. The second is fortune telling or catastrophizing. The third is having a negative mental filter. The fourth is maximizing and minimizing. And the fifth is black and white thinking. So that you get an idea of what each one is like, I'll describe it, and then I'll give an example related to how I might be thinking regarding my book. So remember this ant on my shoulder telling me all kinds of negative things about my book. So the first that I'm going to talk about of the ants is mind reading. This is something that a lot of us learned as kids as a means of keeping ourselves safe. We tried to figure out what other people, particularly adults, were thinking or feeling so that we knew how to act, how to behave, and how to keep ourselves safe. The thing is that a lot of us carry that pattern into adulthood when it's really not helpful, particularly because we think we know what people are thinking, but we don't really know what they're thinking. So, in the case of an ant version of mind reading, we're assuming that somebody is thinking something negative. Now, all authors, I would assume, are concerned about the reception that their book gets amongst the people who read it. So, if I'm mind reading regarding my book, the ant might tell me, you know, nobody who actually reads this book thinks it's good. There may be somebody who told you that, but they're probably just trying to make you feel better or trying to, score brownie points or something. I don't know. But there's no way that these people are thinking that your book is useful. It's not life-changing like some of these people claimed. They don't really think that. The second of the ants is sort of related to mind reading, and it's called catastrophizing or fortune-telling. This means that you know or think you know what's going to happen in the future, and you are certain it's going to be bad. So let's just think in the context of the book what fortune-telling or catastrophizing might consist of. This particular ant might tell me, you know, this book is going to be disastrous for your career. Not only are you not going to sell a lot of books, but people are going to realize when they read it that you're incompetent. Your existing clients might leave, and anybody who's thinking about coming to you, if they read the book, will decide not to come to you because they think you don't know what you're talking about. They've figured that out. So you might as well kiss your career goodbye since you put this book out. The third of the ants is a negative mental filter. This is where you filter out all the positives and just notice and hold on to the negatives of a situation. So maybe using this mental filter, I'll look at the reviews my books have gotten on Amazon.com, and the mental filter, the negative mental filter, would filter out all of the positive reviews I got and just zero in on the one negative review I got and say, yeah, all those other people said that it was good and helpful, but let's look at that review that's really on point and really saying the truth about your book. That person said that she didn't find the book particularly interesting to read, and it wasn't any more helpful to her than any other self-help book. That's the review that you need to look at, not those other ones. They don't know what they're talking about. The fourth of the ants is maximizing and minimizing, and it's sort of related to the mental filter. In this case, you're maximizing the negatives and minimizing the positives. So making a big deal out of the negatives and sort of trying to basically bury the positive things, because if it's negative thinking, it doesn't want to look at the positives. So, what might this ant tell me? Well, this ant might say, okay, so there are a few people who like your book. You did get some positive reviews. But let's think of all the people who bought and read your book who didn't review it. What if all of them thought, this is an okay book, but it's not that great and it didn't do much for me. What if that's the vast majority of the people who read it and they're just not bothering to write reviews? So in that case, what's really happening here is most of the people don't like it. You're just hearing from the few that actually do. And the final of my 5 ants that I'm going to talk about today is black and white thinking. This ant is not staying on my shoulder very well. When I'm engaged in black and white, all or nothing thinking, I'm seeing things as being one way or the other. There's no gray area in between. And of course, I'm going to choose the negative of the 2 ways. So if I'm engaged in black and white thinking, the ant might tell me, this was a total waste of time writing this book. Think of all the time you spent writing and revising this book, and for what? It doesn't do you any good. It's not going to help your career. A book is only worthwhile if you sell hundreds of thousands of copies, and there is no way that you are going to sell hundreds of thousands of copies of this book. So it's too bad you didn't use that time for something more helpful, like, I don't know, starting an ant farm or something. So now that you know about the 5 kinds of ants, I invite you to look out for them in your daily life. When you notice them, you can basically stomp on them and come up with positive challenges to the negative ideas that come to your head. The more you do that, the easier it's going to be, and the more likely the positive thoughts will come up first, or at least much quicker than they used to. You can find some additional help in learning about ants and how you can challenge them by taking my free 5-part e-course called Don't Believe Everything You Think, 5 Simple Ways to Change Your Thinking and Change Your Life. You can sign up for that e-course on findyourmetime.com. You can also learn more about my book, Me Time, on findyourmetime.com, and you can find a link to amazon.com where you can buy the book. So remember, keep looking out for those ants and keep stomping on them.